Welcome to Bet the Edge on Thursday, January 19th. Thank you, everyone watching live on NBC Sports YouTube channel. Today, Drew and I break down the five-game NBA slate, including a matchup in France between my Bulls and those Pistons, the wee-wee. And we also have the Warriors and Celtics on tap, my friend, along with our best look at the NFL teasers. I'll slide in some college basketball today. Drew's going to slide in some men's tennis. So like our guy Samuel L. Jackson said, Drew, hold on to your butts. All that and more coming up on Bet the Edge, my friend. How you doing this morning?
I'm well, man. Excited for tonight's NBA slate. We got some good ones. A little rematch. I get to relive my being very wrong about the Celtics beating the Warriors in the NBA Finals last year, as we get another head-to-head between last year's finalists. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Interested to see what happens with this game in France. But yeah, NBA gets center stage for me today during the day, and I've been enjoying the Australian Open, obviously, although last night was heartbreak for me. I had a big old bet on Taylor Fritz to win the fourth quarter. All of the other seeded players get upset. Taylor Fritz cannot come through round two. He loses to the Australian, sixth best Australian player, which, maybe 50th best in the world. It was a brutal, brutal loss for Taylor Fritz last night. So I got to dig myself out of a hole. Excited to talk some Aussie Open futures at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's always a bounce back day in at least one sport. We cap in multiple sports at all times, but I can't wait to hear what you have. There's early NBA at 3 p.m. Eastern. There's Aussie Open play. So I need some money to roll over in the NBA tonight. But let's start where you said. We'll go out to Boston. All right, Warriors and Celtics. Last year for my birthday, Drew, I got to watch these two teams play, and it was magnificent. Before I get into my player prop, I'm not going to the game tonight. I wish I was, but if I was, I'd still be betting the prop I'm going to give out. But what do you think about the Celtics laying 6 points? Over-unders climbed up to 239. I saw it at 236.5 last night. So looks like the over is a popular play.
I disagree with that personally. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a defensive clash. Right now, looking at player availability, the big one we're waiting on information is Jaylen Brown. He is questionable right now. And that really does matter a lot for the Celtics, who are right now laying 6 points. This should be a very competitive game. I'm inclined to take the 6 with the Warriors, not knowing about Jaylen Brown's status, just because, like you would think, wait, what 6 points? That can't be right. The Warriors are, co-favorites to win the Western Conference still. What's happening here? And the answer is they've just been out of form. They have not played well, particularly, people were expecting them to bounce back after Steph Curry's return. We have not seen it. That said, you do have an intact core of sort of your most important players available here. Like, Warriors missing some of the role players, but I would expect that they try to kind of make a bounce back statement here and try to put together a little bit of solid basketball as they head into the All-Star break. Because right now they're kind of in a lousy place in terms of seeding, in terms of potentially falling into the play-in. So this is a kind of a high leverage game for the Warriors to get back on track. And while I'm not going money line 2-1 for the Warriors, I think 6 is a little too high. My fair price for this one is 4.5. No fatigue advantage in this one. Both teams very well rested, so you should see honest effort. And honestly, that might come with more defensive intensity. So leaning a little bit towards the under if I had to take a side. But based on the numbers that I make this game, I think Warriors +6 is the look.
I'm glad you like the Warriors side because that's where my prop is on this one. I agree. There's no rest advantage here, and that NBA probably did that on purpose so we can see full effort from both of these teams. And I don't think that we won't see that. I mean, I think the Warriors are definitely going to come to play tonight. They always do in Boston, and particularly my guy Steph Curry. Last year, I had to pay obscene amount for nosebleed tickets to see him foul out, but he did cash over 29.5 points in that final minute to get 30 for us. But the last 4 times he's played the Celtics, not counting the game where he only played 14 minutes and was injured, he had 32, 30, 47, and 38 points. And if you caught his last game, everyone was talking about Steph Curry's rusty. He's coming back, doesn't have his shot. But, well, against the Wizards, his total was 30.5, dropped down to 27.5 after an hour of being open. I played the over 27.5. He drops 41. Attempted 15 three-pointers, 28 field goal attempts, 12 free throw attempts. He's back. And, this game, I think he's definitely going to be getting his volume in every sense of the way. And, the Celtics all year, Drew, they've struggled. They've struggled against guards. And Steph Curry is certainly the best guard. So you like the Warriors? I like Steph Curry. You riding with that one too?
Yeah, I know, and I get that point. Kerr has been more inclined to give his guys meaningful minutes later in games. Lately, it looks like he's kind of got the same sense. We need to get these guys in a rhythm. We need to put together some winning basketball. And, I think Curry's going to get a meaningful minute share here. And if Jaylen Brown is not available, then the Celtics really have a defensive question about what exactly they're going to do to try to defend Curry. They did no answers last year in the finals in terms of what they were doing with the off-ball stuff. So realistically, this is going to be a fun game that I don't mind either of our looks. I think, let's go Warriors. And the more we talk about it, the more I'm looking at that Warriors money line actually at 2-1, because the Celtics have not been, they've been priced like they're the same team that we saw in the fall and the early winter, and that team is just they're kind of in the dregs of the midseason malaise right now. They're just not anywhere close to as razor sharp as they were earlier in the season. So don't mind going against the Celtics in that kind of situation, even though this is like a big high leverage sort of kind of prove it game.
Yeah, and people might be listening or watching this and thinking, well, the Celtics are on like a 7-game winning streak. Like, what are you guys talking about? But if you look at who they played through and how they played, it hasn't been good. I mean, those wins: San Antonio, Chicago, New Orleans, Charlotte twice, Brooklyn, and Dallas. And we know Dallas isn't playing its best basketball, and Brooklyn has to come back to earth at some point. So a lot of those wins, may not be what they seem. So let's go Warriors tonight. Shop around Chef Curry over 26.5, 27.5 points, whatever you can get. Let's go to France. Let's go overseas. Bulls and Pistons. I hate my favorite team, the Chicago Bulls. But what I love in this game is homecoming, baby. Killian Hayes coming back to France. If you didn't know, his father, Dayron Hayes, was actually a professional French basketball player. Killian was born in Florida, but grew up in France. Debuted in France at 16 years old professionally. On his Instagram story, Drew, all his friends, his close family, they're getting to see him play for the first time overseas in years. This guy's been on fire lately, playing 30-plus minutes, 6 out of 7 games in January, averaging 15 points, 2 made threes on 5 attempts. I'm looking at a 3-pointed prop tonight, over 1.5 threes for Killian Hayes. Was plus 115 last night. Thought we'd have some nice money on the show. Now it's minus 115. And you look at what Chicago's done lately, 14 or 13 guys in the last 4 games have made 2 or more threes against them. Celtics attempted 41, Warriors attempted 51. I like Killian Hayes in his homecoming. I think this is going to be a fun game. And I think the Pistons could be live, maybe a first half under look. What do you make of this?
I certainly don't know that 7.5 is a fair price. I came up with 6.5 for this game, so I would take dog or pass. Pistons are, they have a number of guys who are out or questionable for this one. So the idea of getting involved with a player like Killian Hayes, who's potentially going to get 30-plus minutes in this one, makes total sense to me. Like, I get that. That's a good look. It's a funny kind of new environment. Traveling to France is a new experience for a lot of these players, certainly. And NBA gave them a nice long runway so that everybody's fresh, and this is presumably going to be kind of an exhibition type of a feel to it. The last time we had one of these exhibition type of feel games, it was of course San Antonio Golden State. That was a sort of sharp underlook because people were like, oh, football environment, huge area, sight lines are going to be no, that was full on like all-star game level defenses. They were putting on an exhibition show. And if this has some of that exhibition feel to it, then I tell you what, 236 is not enough points. This should, and Pistons aren't good defensively anyway. Bulls certainly have enough shooters that I don't mind taking it over here. So this is, for me, Pistons or pass, over or pass. But I'm going to tell you on your Killian Hayes look, because I'm right now projecting him to have 36 minutes tonight. So he's going to be a big part of their offense, I would guess.
Yeah, I would love to see that minute total there. Hit rate would be awesome for that. And if you like the Pistons, then obviously you like Killian Hayes too in this spot. But and the over, I meant to say, if you like the over, then Killian Hayes overs look pretty good. His 13.5 has moved up to 14.5 points. So I like the 3-pointers. That's where my gut says to go today. Drew, we have Raptors, Timberwolves, Nets, Suns, Sixers, Blazers. Any of those games stand out to you? Do you have bets in any of those contests?
Only one of those that I played was the Toronto Raptors. I'm expecting some injury news to come down here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves in general, like I do not have a good read on this team. People will look at this market and be like, "You're really laying that many points with the Raptors on the road?" And yeah, I mean, honestly, like the defensive question marks that I have about the Timberwolves right now should make this a relatively comfortable game for Toronto. Toronto and Minnesota both a little bit tired here, so potential for defensive effort to be especially lax on the part of Minnesota. As far as I can tell you, just the way that they tend to slap, kind of lag a little bit when they get tired defensively. So Toronto, I think, gets it done with offense, and would expect that this game should be or could close in the 6-point range once we kind of get all the information here.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised last night to see the outcome of that Timberwolves Nuggets game a lot closer than most people expected it to be. Nuggets were laying 8.5 to 10.5 points at some points, and Timberwolves only lost by 4 there. So it is the second night of a back-to-back. And when you're on the second night of a back-to-back, one team you really don't want to play is the Toronto Raptors with their defense. Yeah. I'm with you there. I mean, if I'm doing some money line parlays today, the Raptors are certainly going to be in my money line parlays. So I'll ride with you there too. So we like the Warriors, the over, Bulls, Pistons, Killian Hayes, some Chef Curry. And we're going to ride with the Raptors in the NBA. So I like that a lot, my guy. Let's go. But we got to some NFL today too. Before we talk about some teasers though, you guys got to go ahead and get that Roto World app. If you guys haven't yet, download it. Receive breaking player news all season long. Stay in the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. The Roto World app in your app store, wherever you get it. Make sure you guys grab that today. Let's talk NFL teasers because Friday I did well. Saturday I did not. Sunday, wrong side of Tampa Bay, like normal. Not surprising. So I need some teasers because I think whatever we come up with today is going to be on my card. Who's your favorite teaser today? Favorite, if you catch my drift here. Who's your favorite to tease?
The favorite to tease is the Eagles. Taking the Eagles down across 3 is pretty huge. I'm almost exclusively looking for advantage legs when I'm teasing sides, and that means you're looking for taking your team across 7, across 3. Right now, the way that the market is trending for Kansas City out to 9, you're not even really that likely to be able to find a cheap way to get them across 3, which means that for now at least the Chiefs are ruled out. And then you with the likes of the Bills and the Niners, those are cross-offs just because you're losing all your value going across 0, which leaves us with Dallas and Cincinnati as dogs, teasing them out beyond 10. Doesn't make a huge amount of sense in these win or go home scenarios. If teams are down late, let's say they need 1 score to win, going for it on 4th down instead of like kicking a field goal to get you to cover or something along those lines is sort of the name of the game. So the back door becomes that much tougher for teams in these situations. And so you're not really gaining any value just beyond the fact that, not teasing across 3, you're already in deep trouble there. So the only one that really makes sense from a side standpoint is Philadelphia. That one's screaming at me. And by the way, Philadelphia's injury reports continue to get more and more positive as we get to the later stages of the week here. So that market could potentially move as well, which means if you're trying to lock in a good tease number on Philly, I think you need to act somewhat soon. The question is, what do you pair them with? And, everybody and their mother is going to have a Chiefs Eagles teaser probably on Saturday, as people think those 2 favorites coming off buys very likely to win. But I'm with you. I'm passing on the Chiefs. So I think you need to find more creative ways to get Philly into a teaser that has value, potentially put them in an open tease and wait for something next week. Maybe you can get, San Francisco at Philly. You might be able to tease San Francisco across 8, which sounds pretty appealing. Similarly, Dallas, if they go to Philly, you might be able to tease them across 8. So I like the idea of putting, Philly in an open teaser and leave that leg open for whoever the NFC challenger is next week.
That's actually an intriguing option if you have that. I like that a lot. I think the Eagles game for me is interesting because, like the Niners last week beating the Seahawks, they became the 15th team in NFL history to beat the same opponent 3 times in 1 year. And now the Eagles attempt to do that the following week. The Eagles win, the Cowboys win. I mean, we're just getting division matchups all over. And we saw the Eagles take both those games. So I tend to say the Eagles win that game outright because they've already done it twice and they are clearly the better team. But we know the Giants are in the playoffs. They have no business making runs. And they continue to do it.
That's right. I guess if I had to find another leg to pair them with this week, I'm probably going Bengals. And it's because I think that total is too high, even at 48.5. We're starting to get more and more bad news on that weather. It's going to be a wet, gross mess. So the idea that the Bills win with margin and that there's no comeback effort for the Bengals, I have a tough time believing in. I, of course, believe in this defensive coordinator for Cincinnati. I think they can keep that game competitive. So if I didn't have the option to leave a leg open for next week, I would put Cincinnati with Philly this week.
Yeah, everybody's in a rush to bet the Bills this week, I've noticed, and I don't know why. I mean, I was a person that bet them last week though, so you can understand my frustration with Buffalo
Sure.
after coming out 17-0 and then only winning the game by single digits. But I like Joe Burrow's pass attempts in that game. I think the Bengals can't keep that close. And I mean, Joe Mixon, he just can't run. He can't run anywhere. And at this point, I mean, I'm winning the unders pretty heavy in Giants, Eagles, Bengals, Bills. I see that the Giants Eagles game has over 70% of money on the over. And if the weather's
Mm.
really going to be like you say it is for Buffalo and Bengals, then I'd be willing to take an under there. You think it's a better idea to be teasing the Bengals, though, to plus 11.5, plus 12.5, rather than take the under 54 or 55? Or would you
Yeah,
rather have the under?
I think so. I think teasing totals is just it's
Scary.
you're asking for trouble, and
Yeah.
particularly because if the weather report is wrong, if it's a beautiful day, all of a sudden now you're holding a terrible position, right? This total could go up. You have two elite offenses, who are taking the field, a lot of weapons to work with, and certainly you're looking at a much lower total than the last time these two teams lined up on Monday a couple weeks ago. So you're already looking
Yeah.
at a pretty depressed
Good
price.
point.
So I think teasing the total, any total is pretty suspect, at least just the way that the current state of the NFL is. And honestly, with all the games going over in the wild card week, you have to be a little bit concerned if there's not something systematic about what. Yeah, I know this week should be some regression, but what if there's something systematic about the way the refs are calling the game, the way the
Yeah.
teams are approaching things? It's tough to really kind of pin down what's going on with totals right now in the NFL. But all that said, you don't get nearly enough value out of the tease there. So I'm looking for Eagles in an open or Eagles and Bengals.
Yeah, a lot of second and 12s, third and 14s getting, defensive holdings, automatic first downs. I'm pretty sick of seeing that happen, to be honest with you. But it is the NFL. And I think I'm one of those people that see regression. So I want to see the unders because I was on unders last week. But at the same time, Jaguars, Chiefs looks like points. Maybe Giants, Eagles, I could see the under, Bengals, Bills. But Cowboys, Niners, a game we didn't touch on much. So my question to you is before I rattle off my three plays and you give me the best one. Would you rather tease the Cowboys up to 9.5 or 10, or would you rather have the Jaguars around 14.5 or 15.5? Because it's floating around on Twitter that Trevor Lawrence has never lost a Saturday game in his life. So of course he's going to beat the Chiefs this Saturday, right?
Yeah, more value on the Cowboys for sure.
Yeah.
The Jaguars game is funny because the more people the more people I talk to and the more I look at my own projections for that one, I don't even know if there's any sense in taking the points with the Jaguars. Like they're either going to come out. Yeah, this is money line or pass. They either have a superlative approach that is, absolutely live for the game, at which point you're looking at a money line like almost 4-1. Or there's a very real potential that Andy Reid has some tricks up his sleeve. The Jag defense which was on the field for a lot of high leverage moments last week, is a little bit out of gas, and with that case, this could be a 30-point margin. So there's some extreme outcomes sort of away from the middle, which kind of makes betting the side and taking the points less appealing, and it makes teasing absolute tragic opportunity. So I think Jags money line or just stay away from the game entirely, given the current market price on the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's the thing. I agree. I think there's got to be at least one dog wins this weekend. I don't know if I'm willing to go to war on the Jaguars, telling people put your money there. But I would say, lunch money wise, there's got to be some upsets, man. And the way that I approached that game was I played the Chiefs first half, team total over 14.5. It's now up to 15.5. And when I just looked at the numbers, I mean, obviously you got the Chiefs at home. They got the bye. But non-Super Bowl games, there's been 9 playoff games at Mahomes. 7 of those games have gone over 14 points. I just feel like a quick start is imminent here for these two teams. So I want to ask you of my 3 bets that I'm going to place or either already placed, the Chiefs first half, Ezekiel Elliott under 35.5 rushing yards, or Joe Burrow's over pass attempts against the Bills. You said there's going to be sloppy weather, but I think the Bengals have to pass. Those 3 bets, which one do you think is the best sounding one?
Burrow over.
Yeah. I was on the under last week, so that's time to go over.
I mean, yeah, the state of the offensive line, people look at that and they're like, oh my gosh, there's going to be 1 million sacks. Well, there's also going to be really ineffective running. And yeah, the idea that Burrow, there's a lot of game states where Burrow either by by design is throwing them into the game, or by design is trying to get them back into the game through the air, is more than 50%. So I don't mind looking at an over there, just because it looks like it's centered on his median for the season, which is potentially a little bit on the low side considering the magnitude of this game and the potential that they're at a deficit.
Yeah, right before the Super Bowl last year, he had 37 and 38 pass attempts the 2 games leading up to, and they required those game-winning drives from him. This should certainly be another close game. So I'm with you. That was my best bet last week. I think it's going to be my best bet again. We went under. Now we're going over on Joe Burrow. But a lot of great teaser options. Appreciate you guys there. Appreciate your breakdown, Drew. Before we talk Aussie Open, and it's going to be all Drew, no me. Just a reminder, if you guys don't have the NBC Sports Ritter app, go download it now. The contests are free, easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend. Then what's going to happen in college basketball, the Premier League, and Divisional Round of the NFL. You got a shot to win $100,000 by guessing the outcome between the Jaguars and Chiefs, the NBC Sports game. That is NBC Sports Ritter app in the download section of your app store, Sunday Night 7. Let's get it. Patrick Mahomes, hopefully going for 300-plus yards. As usual, him and Josh Allen are going to be potentially the 5th ever player to have 3+ touchdown passes in 4 straight playoff games.
Wow.
That's what they're going for this weekend. So little to that note. All right, Aussie Open. I don't have anything to say, but Drew, give me knowledge, give me bets,
Sure.
Give me outright winners. What do you got?
So we came into this tournament with Novak Djokovic as the meaningful favorite, like he was making up more than 50% of the win probability in the futures pool, and everybody agreed that was fair, even though he was dealing with a lingering hamstring injury. Now, what has happened since the start of the Australian Open? His field presumably has gotten a little bit easier as Nadal is ousted in round 2. Just in general, some of the kind of top-ranked guys that existed in the 4th quarter of the draw. Djokovic is, of course, in the 3rd quarter of the draw. The 4th quarter of the draw is just now completely cleaned out of anyone of meaningful risk of beating him in a semifinal. All that said, Djokovic yesterday had to take a break in his 2nd set to get off-court treatment. He comes out after that, loses the set, and you start to see his price drift pretty aggressively in some of the higher liquidity pools, particularly in the European market, as people are like, whoa, like this could be now a long-term deal. In his post-game press, he has gone on record and said he needs an intervention from God to have any chance to win this title. He's calling a favorite in from the big guy upstairs at the end of round 2 win, which is obviously not a good sign for him. The question is he bluffing? Is he making more of this to try to get a little bit of, a little bit more kind press out of this, to try to make a little bit of like, what a great story. I won even though I had this really bad hamstring injury. That's kind of where I fall. This feels like a bluff. This doesn't really feel like he's going to have a meaningful, challenge, because the rest of the field is just so far below him in terms of true talent, particularly at a best-of-5 level. So I think Djokovic still wins this one, and I still would have him meeting Daniil Medvedev in the final. I have a little bit of a bet on Medvedev. That's kind of my last remaining future here in the marketplace, and he was about 6-1 when we started. He is now down to plus 250. Some of that is because Nadal is gone. Nadal was in his quarter, but some of that is also because he has looked razor sharp. Daniil Medvedev is playing very, very good tennis right now. He takes on American Sebastian Korda tonight. It's going to be a very fun match. He has all of the tools to just give Korda absolute fits in this one. So would not expect Korda to have much of a chance here. But Sebastian Korda, of course, is a U.S. tennis player, as you know, Vaughn. Would you believe that sort of the main story through 4 days of the Australian Open is looking more like the U.S. Open for the men, in that we have like a dozen guys into the 3rd round, which is very rare. U.S. men's tennis has gone through a long stretch where we have not had very many contenders, and it's, I don't think we have any contenders per se this year, but we do have a lot of guys who are playing really good tennis right now and winning. 6 of them altogether still, 5. I forgot Taylor Fritz lost, but 5 of them exist in the 4th quarter of the draw. So a decent chance we could get a semifinalist from the United States in the Australian Open, which would be a first in a long time. Actually, for the Australian Open, that is. And Francis Tiafoe playing great. He, of course, had a magical run at the U.S. Open and is backing it up with great play here. So a lot to be excited about among the U.S. men. And I think realistically, they're not going to make very deep runs in the second week of this tournament. However, it's cool that we have kind of some budding success to look at among the U.S. men here. So the most improved players in terms of like their form and the market kind of moving have been Medvedev and Tsitsipas. I agree with that. But I ultimately still think this tournament goes through Novak Djokovic, and he probably wins 3-1 against Medvedev in the final.
I love that. How about so quarter one winner here on the screen? Medvedev is your play, correct?
Oh yeah, Medvedev I think comes through pretty cleanly here now that Nadal has been eliminated.
Is there any other two Americans? Could they take a shot if you want to play lunch money to hedge it out?
Tiafoe, he's a big match player. Like when the stakes are high, he brings his best. He's taken on Karen Khachanov tonight, the Russian, who I think he can beat. And if he beats them, then his fourth round opponent, he's going to be a meaningful favorite against. So I think he's on a collision course for Medvedev in the quarterfinal here. Francis Tiafoe versus Medvedev. I make Medvedev about a -250 favorite there. So ultimately, I would still kind of back the Russian, but Frank is playing great.
Okay, that's what I'm going to ride with that one. Do you have any plays for the quarter 2, 3, or 4s that you want to share? I know
right now,
like later.
Q2 is the hardest to call because you have 4 elite players that are all still alive. Tsitsipas Sinner is looking like you're going to see that in the fourth round, and that's a coin flip match. I could not really tell you who's coming through there. And then Cam Norrie and Felix Auger-Aliassime, potentially your other head-to-head in the second quarter. All 4 of those guys very evenly matched. I think you look price shop, see what you can find in terms of the best price among those 4, and put that in your pocket, and just hope for that it's an even match. My guess is that Cam Norrie is going to be the best price you can find there. He is $550 right now at PointsBet. I make him closer to 3-1. So I think $550 is a decent bet for Cam Norrie. He's kind of an Iron Man. He can play these long matches and really kind of absorb, a lot of time on court without really it impacting his form. So Cam Norrie is a fun play there in Q2.
Plus 550 odds for Cam Norrie. Definitely get down with that one. So Djokovic, we got Cam Norrie, Medvedev. What else am I missing, Drew? Am I missing anything else?
The fourth quarter is the quarter of my death, where I went heavy on Taylor Fritz, who I was super excited about.
Yeah, that's your comeback.
He got a soft quarter, and he blew it last night, losing to Alexei Popyrin. Now, you have a number of young Americans, J.J. Wolf from Ohio State, Blake Shelton, who I think went to University of Florida, Michael Mholm, who came through beating Alexander Zverev last night, Tommy Paul and Jensen Brooksby, up-and-coming Americans. Among all of these players, I have Tommy Paul the highest rated, which is crazy because I've faded him now 2 weeks at two matches in a row. I bet against him and lost. So, I guess at current price, I would have to take a swing on Tommy Paul. Right now, you have a match going on between Andy Murray and Thanasi Kokkinakis for the final spot in Q4, so we don't have prices up just yet. But people are probably going to try to make a case for Andy Murray because he's had an incredible comeback today. I'm not buying it. I think if Andy Murray is anywhere near the top of the board for the fourth quarter, you are looking hard at a lot of the other prices because there's going to be value to be had there. Andy Murray is not going to make a run in week 2. I do not believe. In fact, I think he is out next round to Roberto Bautista Agut. So realistically, one of these young Americans is going to have his moment, and it may just be Tommy Paul.
Tommy Paul, 14-1 there in that section, quarter 4.
Ooh,
I like that a lot. I got the odds up for Andy Murray right now because I've been watching him become the underdog more and more in this match. So it definitely looks like he's going to lose. But look at Drew. Got me looking at tennis odds and watching tennis as the show's going on. What is this world coming to?
I love it,
you want a bonus bet, Drew?
Yeah, of course.
All right, on the sirens. So we're going to slip some college basketball in there. And there we go. And this is revenge. I watched The Batman last night, and I was feeling some vengeance. And then this morning, I turned on Logan. Why did I watch Logan and Wolverine? I watched Wolverine die right there in front of everybody because Thursdays are for turtles. Tonight is all about the Maryland Terps. All right? Maryland is getting revenge on Michigan. They lost 81-46 at Michigan Maryland, a much better home team here. The spread is 2.5-point favorites for Maryland, the same team that lost 81-46 just on January 5th or January 1st, excuse me, New Year's Day. These are college kids, so anything could happen on New Year's Day when you're playing basketball.
Of course, yeah,
but
for sure.
Give me the Terps today. You might get a better price closer to the game because Dante Scott's a little sick. I think Maryland's the play, though, Drew. Any opinions before we get out of here?
I mean, I have a tough time backing Maryland because we have a rough history. But if you say that the side, then I'll go to war with you on Maryland.
It's the side. I'm going for 5 straight winning days in college basketball, Drew. And this is going to be my only play today. We were on Missouri last night, and it was, like Samuel Jackson said, hold on to your butts. It's going to be the same thing tonight, all right? I can't wait. Terp Central. So lots of great picks from the show today. My guy, Wellcapper, doing it all from an airport. This guy gets it done. Make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. Don't forget to check out all of our work on NBC Sports Edge for more info. Help you guys out with your wages. But if you watched and listened today, you won't need that help probably. Appreciate you guys watching NBC Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, follow us on Twitter. See you tomorrow.